Alrighty.
All right.
Alright, everybody. Welcome back. Sorry about that. We restarted the podcast. We experienced a little bit of feedback, so we didn't want to upload one that was kind of like imperfect. But, whatever. Um, so, again, I want to go over a couple things. We are sponsored. Go check out Hell's Dungeon, everybody. That's a fantastic hunt. Also, we're sponsored by Epic Games. Go use our creator code 66 Seals Podcast in the chat for 10% off your purchase. Um, yeah, maybe one day it'll be bigger, but yeah. Anyway, moving on with life. I also want to give a shout out real quick to Gamer Sups. I know we've been talking to them a little bit. So for those of you who don't know, they're a fantastic gaming drink company. Go check them out, guys. Buy their stuff. Shout them out for us. Do what you gotta do. But yeah, go buy their stuff. Anyway, moving on today, we're gonna be talking stuff here, and it's again with a few. There we go. We're experiencing a drop. Okay, there we go. So if you randomly hear me just stop talking, it's because it's trying to load and process. But anyway, moving on. So we have a couple different stories today here. Now, I know we talked a lot about the Illuminati, who they are, and what they stand for. It's an elite group of people that basically run the world from the shadows. Now, we also talked about things like Alex Jones. We talked about just, the sheer impact of Alex Jones and his um, entourage.
Alex
That's,
Jones is just he's an experience. I love Alex Jones. Controversial, but just beautiful. A beautiful man. Sorry for the weird interruption.
no, you're good. So we talked a lot about a couple different things. So today we're going to be talking more along the lines of cover-ups, conspiracies, you know, just exactly how far the government is willing to go to do cover-ups. And, we talked about a lot of declassified stuff, and I want to just kind of define that real quick. I know Christian did a beautiful job of defining it the other day, but he said declassified stuff, for those of you Norman at one point thought was so secretive that it had to be classified. It had to be. So now that it's declassified, we can kind of get into the mindset of, what what they thought was worth classifying. Does that make sense, my man?
Yeah, so basically it's stuff that is like the government has admitted to. So there's still stuff about the declassification that's classified and things like that. So it's stuff that the government has willingly admitted to, which is a very rare thing, or was forced to. Like with the MK Ultra thing that I'll be talking about today, the Church Committee, um, which was started by Frank Church, basically forced them to declassify MK Ultra. But a lot of the MK Ultra files were destroyed, and so what we know is like the bare bones, and it's still like pretty horrendous stuff. So definitely when they declassify something, it's not always everything. It's stuff that they trust with, I guess, or they've been forced to put out there.
Right. So I specifically want to talk about William Colby today. I'm going to start off by kind of throwing a little bit of a twist at you. So, William Colby, first of all, was a CIA guy. Now, he revealed evidence about you know, corrupt elements, the government, specifically CIA, FBI, that were said to be in ties with the Illuminati. Now, first of all, he died. This guy, health, right? He worked out every day. I mean, the guy was known to, not only work out every day, but he was in an excellent shape. William Colby, look him up. So, why I bring up William Colby is because he was found after he released information about said, Illuminati members or corrupt elements of the government that would be helping, said Illuminati. There, um, there was real evidence that started to pile up from his accusations and his word, and he was found dead just a couple days later. Now, this wasn't before everybody says, "Oh, well, he's 74, he's this, he's that." Listen, we're talking about a guy who was an excellent. We're talking physical condition. Man was active. Man was 74, going on 55. Okay, on point and in shape. Now, one of the things is he was found dead in his canoe, um, which the interesting part about this is there was dinner on the table. There was hot dinner on the table waiting for him, and he went out randomly and was found dead in his canoe. No, like the thing is, I feel like this is one of the biggest proofs that we know that the government exists, or not the government kind of corrupt Illuminati exists, is because somebody could just have him killed like it was nothing. And somebody could just whack him, and there's nothing that anybody could do about it.
Guy sounds like he was in better
Now,
health than I am. You know what I mean? Like that's
exactly. These guys who CIA, ex-CIA. I mean, you got to think they're in top tip physical condition, even in their 70s. I mean, a Navy SEAL in his 60s could still take out, a young 20-year-old buck who's in great physical condition in the prime of his life. I mean, this guy was found murdered by his canoe, dinner hot, still on the table, and it was after he had revealed information um, after he revealed information. Now, the information he revealed, first of all, to everybody, is more information on the Epstein thing. So, I actually didn't know this until I had looked it up. One of the the most interesting things about the Epstein thing is just the sheer amount of people who knew about it before it came public and he was prosecuted for it, and subsequently was found dead, or supposedly found dead in his cell. Now, really, the thing that's like really interesting about the situation is people like Alex Jones went on the Rogan podcast, powerful JRE, whatever he wants to call it, and had told him 2 years prior um, about the Epstein islands and about all that. And I say islands plural because that's the break to the case we're going to be talking about. However, um, with all that being said, I think it's interesting that people like Alex Jones, he said something about Ted Gunner had told him about it, and he was this high-level top guy, top CIA, and he had told him about it, and he had real, classified information, and that's really, what is crazy about Alex Jones. A lot of the stuff that he ends up saying ends up being true. Now, love him or hate him, a lot of the stuff that he has is real information. Now, the information that William Colby released was on the Epstein thing. There was an island in the Caribbean, there was an island in the Mediterranean, and there's ranches, specifically 7 in the Southwest, that were all we're all off branches, or we're all kind of sisters of, or sister companies of Epstein. So it's all one giant pedophile ring. Did you know about that?
This is the first time hearing about that. I'm not too well read on the Epstein stuff. I know that like a lot of it's very shady, and the way he died was shady. Even if he died, there was like pictures coming out after his supposed death of like people on his island that looked weirdly similar to what he looked like, pretty much. So,
So, all right. So here's in a nutshell about the Epstein thing. So, first of all, Epstein was a financial mogul. He was a real estate guy. He made millions, and he bought an island that he often flew, you know, presidential figures or Hollywood figures. And this guy was known in the industry. I mean, he was a mogul. Everybody wanted to be his friend. So, in the time that Trump was, in his 20s, 30s, whenever that time was, um, a long time ago. But in those times, um, people like him and Trump were hanging out and things like that. And the thing that makes him, really what makes Epstein Epstein, is the controversy surrounding the island. So the plane. So first of all, if you don't know, let me fill you in. To be a trucker or to be a pilot, you have to have what's called a logbook, and it's not necessarily so you can prove where you're at. It's for a tax thing. It's for an income tax thing. It's for like government official tax on, like, if you, like, say you travel 3,000 miles. Well, if it's on your logbook, then that's proof. Like, the person signs it. That basically certifies that you did that job. So, and it has to be like that. It's a law. I mean, there has to be things on the books. That's why they say on the books. That's what they're referring to as log books. But anyway, we digress. So the plane that he had to sign in people with logging, the people, lolly meaning younger, or really. Oh, hold on. There we go. Lolly at Express, meaning that Lolly, like, young, um, and um, just young. I mean, the kids, right? That's essentially it. So what would happen was everybody on the flight log would go to his island, and it was said that there's a giant pedophile ring there. That, like you said the other day, there's verified proof. I mean, you can't deny it at this point. Like, it's
right.
already out there. It's already proof. Like, there's already hard proof. There's photos. There's testimonies. I mean, you name it, it's there on the logbooks. I mean, there's celebrities all over the place, that are on these logbooks. Things like Bill Clinton, Trump, John Legend, Lady Gaga, Katy Perry, Will Smith, um, Akon, Eminem. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. You guys can look at that for yourselves. However, um, with with what was with on the flight logs, if everybody on the flight logs had went to that island and really had been a part of this underage sex ring, it would bring down Hollywood. It would mean, here's what really, like, let's what it boils down to, and really, like, when you kind of like sift through all the shit, here's really why the Epstein thing is so huge, or was so huge, right? Is because if it's true, let's just both accept together right now that it's true. Not that I'm saying it's true or false. I don't know. But let's just accept the universal truth that it is true. That would mean that there would be over 50 people right now in Hollywood that would instantly get cut. That would mean billions, with a B, capital B too. Billions of dollars worth of movies out the door, right? billions of dollars worth of revenue. We're talking about tons of tainted movies, and not to mention, a side note, not to mention, 2 years ago when Alex Jones had also been talking about the same thing about Hollywood when he had talked about Epstein. He had brought up producers in Hollywood, and there's actually five or six people that came forward and was like, "Oh, Harvey Weinstein's not in this," and like they immediately, like, he didn't say Harvey Weinstein, but they immediately got defensive over it. Like, and now we're finding out that Harvey Weinstein actually was a part of this pedophile ring, that he was in fact someone who molested and
Yep.
had his way with actresses and things like that, and forced himself on it. So I mean, they got super defensive over it because they knew exactly what they were doing, and just the sheer just the sheer impact of it. But whatever, we digress. Let's dial it back. Um, Going back to Epstein, really the thing that um, really kind of upsets everybody is just the sheer fact that he, had basically diplomatic immunity. I mean, really, because he was friends with Bill Clinton. He was friends with Trump. He was said to be friends with other presidential candidates, other politicians. He, I mean, really, when you think about it, he was said that to be this guy who was in power and had all this money, wealth, everything, and he really just couldn't be touched. And there's actual video. I watched it the other day when me and Eli were doing the podcast and talking about it. There's actually a video that's really surfaced a while ago, not recently, but a while ago, and it was one when Trump was like 30 or something, 29, 30, maybe in his mid 30s, and they were making a joke about the younger women dancing, and he was like, "Oh, he likes them young," and they laughed about it or whatever. And now looking back at it 20, 30 years ago, now it really is creepy, because now it's like, oh, maybe they knew something at the time that nobody else knew, and that's something. On how long has this been a thing, or was this a thing? And then once he was caught and the logbooks came out and all this thing came out, um, obviously Corona hit, and it got kind of pushed onto the rug, which that's a whole conspiracy in of itself. We'll talk about later. It's a whole Corona episode. But
Uh-oh.
um anyway, so what was really fishy about it was when he got sent to prison. He got sent to a maximum security prison. First of all, maximum security. I don't know if you're a law enforcement guy, but let me fill you in. The difference between regular prison and maximum security prison is three factors. Okay, three of them. First of all, the fences outside are a higher voltage. Something that you probably don't know is that a taser is in between 20,000 bolts or volts and 50,000. The fence outside is 200 million volts. It would kill you on if you grab the fence, it will literally kill you. On top of that, there's the top of it is double razored, and then there's a guard that. First of all, there's a fence. It's electrified. Razors at the top. There's about a 6 foot gap. Right. There's a walkway, and then there's another fence with all the same shit in it, and a guard walks around. Now, this guard that walks around is typically a military personnel. That's special. That's special forces. That's the difference. And then on the inside, there's sniper towers. There's precisely 5 sniper towers. Two in the north, two in the south, one in the west, one in the east. Is typically it. Now these snipers are typically your L9s, L4s, able to hit probably in the ballpark of about 640 feet. Um, and then on top of that, maximum security. Instead of getting an hour a day for rec, which is recreational time, you would get in the ballpark of about an hour. You'd get about an hour a week versus an hour a day. So you'd be locked up 6 days, 6.5 days out of the week, and for an hour, You could go outside in a cage that's about 10 by maybe 12, and you can kind of just sit there or play a game or something. That's the difference between maximum security. I want to just preface this so you understand just how serious this is. So what's interesting about the whole thing is he was put in a cell, and this cell, at this point in time, all the cameras pointing to the cell were completely off. All of the guards were completely on break or not around, and there was a staunch amount of clothing put in the cell. Now, when you're admitted into prison, a couple things happen. You're issued a towel. You're issued a bar of soap. You're issued two pieces of clothing. Typically, one's white and then one's orange. And then you're issued sandals and a haircut. Those are the things you're issued. Now, other than that, you can buy it from the commissary. You can buy the other stuff. Now, um, with that being said, there is no reason that 9 to 15 pairs of clothing would be in the cell if they only issue you two. And we're talking about clothing would probably run you in the ballpark of about $15 to $20 per jumpsuit on the inside. So we're talking hundreds of dollars sitting in the cell where the clothing that he supposedly hung himself from, which we could talk about in the likeliness of it in a second, but um, not to mention the cellmate that he had was this big Irish gorilla, literally of a dude. 6'4", looks like a bodybuilder, Rich Pena looking guy, ex-cop on a convicted of a quadruple murder. I mean, this guy was serious. Like if you guys look it up, this guy that he was in a cell with was serious.
I think
And
I've seen that guy. He's a beast, dude.
dude, he's a fucking
Dude.
animal,
Have you seen
dog.
Shannon
Animal.
Mechanic Briggs, dude? He's
Dog.
on that
Shannon
level,
the
dude.
Cannon Briggs. Let's
He's
go.
on
I'm
that.
telling you,
Let's go,
dog.
champ. Let's go.
Let's go, champ. Hey, um, no, but serious. So, and what happened was, people say it was the Clintons. People say it was people who work for the Clintons. Regardless, some more people who Clintons had visited him, and then hold on, we're lagging. Give me a second. There we go. Yeah, people who worked for the Clintons had visited him, the security for their team, and they 10 minutes later after they did it, he was supposedly found dead in his cell. Now, we could talk about tons of different things with this. We could talk about the fact that 10 minutes after the Clintons Foundation visited him that he was dead. We could talk about the fact that there's shit tons of clothing in his place. We could talk about it's an ex-cop. But I think what's most notable, so first of all, my sister. My sister is like almost a registered doctor. Like she has like the kind of schooling that could literally be a doctor like today. So one of the things. Hold on one second here. Hold on here. All right. But anyway, moving on with life. Sorry, I had to answer that text message. Sorry, everybody. Important matters. Regardless, we could talk about tons of different things. However, the most notable thing to talk about is the bone fractures. First of all, um, old school. We're talking about old school hangings. The reason old school hangings work with the wooden platform and the lever is not because it can hang you. It's because that drop, it's gonna break your neck, and that is what kills you. not the hanging. The hanging is kind of just a public display thing in general. Um, Now, with that being said, couple different things here. One, multiple collarbone fractures are very unheard of. One collarbone fracture, that's fine. You snap, that's common. Now, two of them, that's pretty rare. But three of them, three collarbone fractures, would have to mean some to do it. Three collarbones. You're talking three separate breaks. Hold on 1 second here. There we go. We're talking three separate breaks on your collarbone. We're talking this had to be foul play. I mean, breaking something three times, um, you would be in so much agonizing pain. I read breaking your collarbone and breaking your femur are the two worst pains you can possibly have. So more than one collarbone, and he'd be in so much pain he couldn't stand. Three of them, it had to be inflicted by somebody. So that to me indicates foul play. Um, that's my opinion. That's my opinion. That's kind of where I'm at with it. Um, so yeah, so that's the whole Epstein situation from start to finish. Kind of just an overview. I mean, there's obviously more to it, but the island that he had was his personal island. Um, what William Colby said was that there's an island in the Caribbean, there's an island in the Mediterranean, and there's about seven Southwest ranches that are basically pedophile rings that are sister companies of Epstein. So now that you're kind of filled in, now what's your opinion?
Dude, I believe it, dude. I believe a lot of that. I mean, I definitely expect them to cover it up. I mean, as you know, a lot of these times with like things like Project MK Ultra, people will just suspiciously, after so long, just end up dying, just randomly, and normally because of like bizarre things, rare diseases. Like they'll have like a rare form of like a spinal fracture or something like that, just randomly happen to these healthy people who typically are like really happy people too. You know what I mean? Like they're not always
Yeah,
like they're not the people that you would think would be like really depressed or anything like that, and they have like things to live for. Like this one guy at the Capitol riots the other day, he was convicted on like what was basically maybe not even a mis. So he wasn't even gonna serve time for. He just kind of was in the Capitol trespassing type of thing. Didn't go inside the building, but he was trespassing on the grounds, right? And he just shoots himself in the chest, and they can't find a gun or anything like that. But it's immediately classed as a suicide, and it's like case closed for them. So I think like definitely suicides are a big thing. And what the thing is like Clinton, right? She's all these friends and these people that she's acquainted with that have killed themselves. That's a lot of people. Like I understand one, and then maybe one, two, three more, but she's like up in the 30s of people that she knows, that she's like friends with, that have like tried to expose her, that have killed themselves or otherwise died suspiciously. So basically, what I'm saying is that I think that the Epstein thing, 100%, without a doubt, I think it's going to end up coming out in like 20, 30 years, like way in the future, that it was 100%, the fault of the government, and nobody's going to be charged with it because everybody who's involved will be dead by then. So I think it's going to be one of those things that it's going to come out later, and it's going to be like, wow, like we told you so type of deal. Same with MK Ultra and all the other things.
yeah. So um, that's kind of so William Colby is the first one I wanted to talk about. And there's a couple other botched cover-ups that I want to talk about, but that's really one of them. And I think there's so much evidence that points to a cover-up It's like the fact that his dinner was hot and on the table. I refuse to believe that a man who is making dinner would go kayaking for a second. I don't believe it. It's not something I do. But um, anyway, so I want to talk briefly, very briefly, about Track 61. Now, do you know what Track 61 is?
I think I've heard about it like once or twice. Um,
So
you're gonna have to fill me in again. I'm sorry.
you're good. You're good. You're good. So Track 61. I have a couple different notes here. Track 61 is a secret set of train tracks that were created for the private use of dignitaries and VIPs, government, first of all, it led to one political building to the next. It was an underground railroad type of deal. It led to, one diplomat place. Say it was your debate hall, and then it led to, the giant offices of which said person worked. And it was an underground road that was for both of them. It was for VIPs. It was dignitaries, stuff like that. Now, what's really interesting about this is not the fact that it's a railroad, is the fact that the government went to great lengths to make sure that there's no blueprints on it. Now, I want to talk about this for a second here. When we talk about blueprints, first of all, for those of you who don't know, or the old souls, first of all, we went from 30 to 50 people watching. I appreciate that. But welcome everybody. But first of all, when we talk about blueprints, for all of you who don't know, blueprints is the the mechanical or the builder's plans on the house. What happens when you get a house made for you, or when you make a house or a building, you have to submit blueprints, which is the public knowledge of how the building is made. So this is how big it is, the rooms, what's in what room, what doors, how does it open, the basement, stuff like that. Blueprints is very important for a builder. So let's say if you wanted to have a house built, the builder wouldn't actually directly talk to you. You would talk to somebody who made blueprints, and that blueprint person would send it to a builder, and that builder would just specifically look at the blueprints and build a house that way. That is how it works. So the blueprints are something that is submitted publicly. It's a public document, first of all, on all houses. Okay. When we talk about the government making sure that something's not on a blueprint, it leads me to believe that there's other secrets that the government is hiding, first of all, that, you know, what, like, if they're willing to cover up this small little track that came out and was, declassified, what other blueprints are they trying to hide? Is there, a secret office to a building, or is there a secret basement to a building? Does the White House have a secret, underground bunker, or, you know what I mean? Like it leads you to believe that there's other places have blueprints erased, that there's secret rooms, hidden and then we could even get to the more spooky thing of, well, what if they're hiding stuff? What if they're hiding a whole slew of bodies? What if one thrown it in the and there's no to reveal it?
I understand you have to hide between the.
We're loading again. There we go.
Communicate this whole like blueprint that, but at this point, given, so we have to search for things, right? And maybe it's not a big deal, but it has to be. You know what I mean? Like we can't just let it go because even if it was, So it comes to understand security this thing, but when you don't, with anything, we have nothing. You know what I mean? Something. It's just more. That's my concern. They just have to open up more.
Hold on, we're down again. back. Um, I definitely understand about with the security. I mean, it's nothing to or like you said, it is a security risk if we know everything about everything. But I think it's due diligence to fill the American people in on a lot of things that they don't. And I think a lot on stems a lot like it would clear up. We keep like lagging and going down. And anyway, it's regardless. It's
What?
so there's a lot that really to it, but I wanna kind of get this kind of fire. I don't know why we're lagging so bad. Just 1 second, guys. All right, there we go. Anyway, so back to what we were talking about. I'm sorry about that, guys. We experienced a little bit of a delay. Um. Anyway, so next thing about which I promised. Now, that's the name, right? John Lennon. Was he murdered? So first of all, for those of you who don't know, John Lennon was super political, and his political views didn't line up with Nixon at the time. So, fearing that he would influence the young vote, um, basically the FBI started listening to his phone records, his conversations, and made campaign deported. On the evening of December the 8th, musician John, formerly of the Beatles, was shot and fatally wounded in the archway of Dakota, his residence in New York City. His killer was Mark David Chapman. Um, who was a Beatles fan who traveled from Hawaii. Chapman said he was angered by Lennon's lifestyle and public statements. That's what he went on record to say. Now, I want to talk about that for a second here. Um, I think this is interesting. I think this is interesting because we talk about how phony are the Clintons. We talk about murder and hitmen, and we talk about is there presidents out there who are whacking people. And I think this is clear cut proof of protecting somebody's public image and just how far the government's willing to go. I actually didn't know a lot about the John Lennon thing until I had looked it up in its full length and entirety. Um, this is one of the really the main key things here is just that. So to me, that's really what's interesting about the whole thing. I mean, not necessarily that he was killed because that is a shame, first of all. But it's interesting that his political views didn't line up with Nixon's. So he was mysteriously just shot dead. And this wasn't somebody that people disliked. I mean, the Beatles, the British invasion, right? I mean, they're huge. Arguably the biggest time in rock and roll. I mean, that's when it was booming. That's what made, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right? That's the whole saying. I mean, it came from the British invasion. So we can't really, we can't really, put coincidence on it. I think his his hit was ordered by somebody who worked for the president. I mean, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like that could be a thing? Do you feel like I'm just kind of spitballing and connecting dots that I shouldn't be? I definitely find it weird because just the kind of, I mean, we talk about it goes back to Jeffrey Epstein. I don't mean to connect the dots here, but Jeffrey Epstein, huge case, botched. John Lennon, huge case, botched. Jeffrey Dahmer, huge case, botched. And I think the government has, some sort of, I don't want to say prerogative because that's really the wrong word, but they have, this sort of cavalier attitude. Yeah, that's it. They have this controversy that's very cavalier in the way that like they do it, and I think they have a very direct approach, and they just kind of kill whoever that doesn't agree with them or whatever because nobody can really stop them. I think that's really, I don't know. I'm gonna leave that there for you guys to decide and kind of look on, but I'm gonna move on here because I got a couple other really good stories. Um, I'm gonna come back to MK Ultra a little bit later because I know Homeboy has a lot to say about that, so I'm gonna kind of skip that. I'm going to go first of all. I'm gonna talk about the Teapot Dome scandal. Now, if you guys don't know what this is, let me fill you in. So the Teapot Dome scandal was it basically is the monitoring of oil derricks. Now, at the time, um, which, first of all, at the time, um, this would be back when we thought we were about to run out of oil. First of all, now what happened was it was very botched in the way that they took care of it. The monitoring the oil derrick switched over to the interior, and the Secretary of the Interior, Albert B. Fall, leased it out without any competitive bidding at all, which immediately or bidding, not building, competitive bidding, that made him just wealthy for like rich beyond like rich like money and so President Warden G, he really was said to be involved in this whole thing. Now, when it started, when the accusations and stuff started, um, he died before they could find out if he had something to do with it. Now, what do you think about that? That's a pretty hefty story. Is your audio included? Because it's not giving me your audio. No. Okay. Yeah, it's not giving me your audio. That's fine. What I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna do is this. I'm gonna go ahead and go over a couple of these stories, and then I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off because this really is the build up for tomorrow's podcast, and we wanted to do a pre-show anyway, so that's what we'll do. Um, so okay, I'll lead off with this. I'll lead off with this. Chernobyl. First of all, Chernobyl. I want to talk about it. First of all, there's tons of people that say it's safe to go into. Tons of people that say it's safe, but the government says it's not. And obviously, people say that the government rigging is the reason that it became that way, and the whole catastrophe happened. And maybe they're trying to hide something. Maybe there's some sort of base, some sort of secret located in the Chernobyl park somewhere. I know there's been plenty of movies about it. Um, so that's interesting, first of all, and just the sheer idea of it is pretty interesting. Um, to think that there's something there, I don't necessarily know if I believe it, but um, I think that the government definitely would do it, but I don't think that that's really a thing. I think someone's spitballing here. I mean, do you agree? Yeah. So yeah. Um. So what he said, guys, was that he absolutely agrees, and it's not safe and it's never gonna be safe. I don't know, but I have a couple other things here. Then I have a conspiracy on my own. I'm gonna kind of lay on the line. Um, first of all, Castro assassination attempts. Something I want to talk about pretty intensely. So first of all, Fidel Castro. Fidel Castro. They said that they attempted his assassination 600 times. With things like exploding cigars, fungus-filled suits, which later the government admitted to. The government admitted to a lot of attempt, but not all of them. So think about that, guys. And then here's here's something that I wanna kind of throw my conspiracy out there, and then I'm gonna call it a day. And again, guys, what we're gonna try to do is we're gonna try to do a pre-show, and we're gonna try to do a main show. Working on it, you know what I mean? With time. Um, this probably won't be uploaded, you know what I mean? But if it is, whatever. But anyway, here's the deal. First of all, I want to talk about James Clapper, and then I'm going to talk about my conspiracy with him. But James Clapper, the director of national intelligence, was asked directly, first of all, if they use like cell phones and computers and the audio and the cameras to spy on innocent civilians. He literally did not give them an answer. The Young Turks asked them about that. Um, First of all, and then 2008 Congress in 2008, Congress passed a FISA Amendment Act, which allowing the FBI and the CIA to access your phones and audio. So I actually didn't know that. There's a legal document right now, the FISA, that says that government actually um, has the right to access your audio, your phones, your stuff like that. Now, here's my conspiracy theory, and I know that it's gonna sound crazy because normally I'm all like Alex Jones. I'm like the frogs, they're turning the frogs gay, and like I'm not gonna go all crazy on you. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I like the idea of Google. I like the idea of Amazon, all of which having audio and camera, to track you. And here's why. I think modern technology has gotten to a point where it's more beneficial to have um, the kind of stuff that we have, right? And I think that it's really beneficial not only for us as people, but I think it's beneficial to literally everybody on planet Earth. I mean, think about it. Siri. Think about Siri. Think about Alexa. Alexa is a round cylinder disc device that you can set any part of your room, and all you have to do is say, "Hey Alexa, turn on, whatever," and they just play. It's a hands-off device. Or, "Hey Alexa, how do you spell whatever?" Or, "Hey Alexa, dim the lights." That's another one I like too. I like the fact that you can hands off, like say something technology wise, and it happens in your house. I love the idea of different types of technologies too. Like, I know it's gonna sound real controversial, but I like the idea of Amazon and Facebook listening to you. Now, here's where it kind of gets weird because I know that there's going to be a debate. Which, first of all, tomorrow we plan on having my buddy Jesse on. He's gonna be a special guest, and we're gonna talk a little bit more tomorrow about it. However, however, I'm gonna just kind of say it now. I love the idea of Amazon and Facebook listening to you because I like the idea of them optimizing and putting stuff out there that you specifically want to see. I love the idea of, say me and Nick have a conversation and it's about like what's a good, oh yeah, like the Saw movie. We both like the Saw movies. And let's say there's a new Saw movie coming out that we didn't know about, or let's say there's the Billy the Puppet that's on sale for an actual life size of the puppet that's maybe that's like 500 online, but maybe there's like a deal going on that it's like $200. I like the idea of the government optimizing your life to make it easier. I like the idea of more government. I think if there's more automation, and this is where it gets kind of tricky, right? I think if there's more automation in the world, I think the better off the world would be. Now, you know, that would directly go against everything that I say because I'm a conspiracy theorist. You know what I mean? I say that the government's up to no good all the time, but um um and so I understand that everyone, for those of you, because you can't hear his audio. He first of all, he said that it's super controversial, and I get that. I get that, and it is controversial, but at the same time, I think that more automation. First of all, I think automation and I think public awareness and automation are going to be the future, and I think when it is the future, I think we will. Um, I think we'll. Hold on 1 second here. Anyway, sorry, Kevin texted me. He wants me to game. But anyway, no, I think more automation is something that the world needs. I think it's definitely something that needs to happen. I think if we made more things public, I think there'd be more answers. I think the fact that there being more eyes on it is a good thing. Now, obviously, when we give too many people an opinion, obviously, certain things happen. Like, we have snowflakes, we have Karens, we have tons of people who, are now offended. Like, I can't even tell someone to fuck off without them being offended. I can't make a joke anymore. Like, I can't make a sexist joke anymore without somebody getting offended. And you know me, I'm a dark humor type of guy. That's my whole shtick. And I I think it's interesting to say the least that we live in a world where um where we can't be as forthcoming because of it, and I think that's part of the reason. That's something I want to talk about tomorrow, and I want to kind of plant all that in your guys' heads and in Christian's head real quick. I think that the world is the way it is because of how sensitive we are. You said that there's certain things that shouldn't be public. I don't know if I agree with that, man. I think that everything should be public, but I think everyone should kind of thicken up, I guess, to kind of thick skin and get a little bit more ballsy in the way they kind of, handle things and handle the situations. Now, in the same breath, I think that it's smart to understand that not everybody can handle everything. I mean, obviously, there's going to be people who just quite can't handle the truth, which I get that. There's gonna be that people, but I don't think there should be hidden hidden ideals in life. I think there's a fine line, right? I think there's a fine line between the reality of the situation and covering it up, you know, to save face. And that's, I feel like, the government's issue right now is they want to try and cover all this up to save face and, to kind of put this facade out there that everything's okay, and everything's not okay. You know what I mean? Everything's not okay, and it's not ever going to be all okay. But I think that more regulation, I think, is good. I think more open honesty is good. And I love how we're moving along. I love it. I love that, you know, like I saw someone the other day. First of all, they were like, "Hey, you could just swipe your credit card and the thing, um, and it'll just accept it." I said, "Really?" And I swiped it over the machine, and surely enough, absolutely, it's a contactless credit card. That's so cool. I love that technology. That level of technology is so fascinating. It is, and I love the direction that we're moving. I think that if we released more truth, we could release more technology. They say the government is 50 years, or the military is 50 years ahead of the current technology, and to kind of give them the competitive edge on the world. So, I first of all, we have 60, 70 viewers right now. Thank you all for tuning in. I know it's once I start talking about conspiracy, everyone's like, let's listen to him. Um, Thank you guys, 66 people. I appreciate you. But so what I was saying first of all was I love the fact that we have this ability to put out there 75 people. I appreciate you. But we have the ability to make this kind of technology, put it out there for everyone to kind of see and to kind of judge and have it save lives. I like it's little tiny inventions I feel like that make life better. And the saying is right: enjoy the little things in life. I think there's nothing more truthful than enjoying the little things in life. I mean, that's my take on it. Now, I want to end on a note here. First of all, I know we've had a lot of technical issues. First of all, it's snowing outside, everybody, which does ultimately affect the connection and stuff like that. However, thank you for bearing through it, and we've had more viewers in this stream than we've had in a very long time, so I appreciate that. And thank you guys for all listening. Now, I just want to end with this: the government does hide things, and the government does keep things from us, but I think it's important to note for everybody. I think it's important for everybody that we keep in mind that not only does the government hold stuff from us, but I think there's certain people who work at like these Amazon companies and work at these Google companies who, I mean, it could be used for nefarious purposes and nefarious things. But I think the overall idea is to do good in the world. And although, a gun's primary purpose is to fire a bullet, a gun is just a tool. Although a gun kills people, it's not the primary purpose. That's the big thing. A gun is a tool, a knife is a tool. If you use a gun to hunt, then that's what it's used for. If you use a gun to sit on the wall, then that's its use. If you use a gun to kill, that's the use. Like, same thing can be used for, these companies who listen to you, but they bring you, you know, a new level of advertisement. They keep people safe and friendly. I mean, there's tons of stuff. I I think there's a fine line between, you know, reality and kind of stepping on the toes of people who just want to make the world a better place. Now, don't get me wrong, I think people like the Clintons are, in fact, guilty, and I think that there's enough dots to connect. I think we need to connect them. However, you'll never see me personally connect dots that, you know, are kind of out there. Maybe a little bit, but not to the extent of like trying to make up a story for the sole purpose of making a story. Like, that to me seems a little silly. Um, it does. It seems a little wacky and a little silly. Now, I wanna talk about the last thing here, and it sucks because we can't really hear his audio. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of just state the opinion, and then tomorrow, when we talk about it, he can tell you his opinion on it. But I'm gonna give you the overall just gist of it. First of all, MK Ultra. MK Ultra is a Project Clockwork Orange. Now it's a declassified project now by the government that it was a way to um, force brain behavior. It was a form of brainwashing. It was the ability to make somebody so, I guess, mentally not there that they would go out and just commit a murder, or it would literally like mind control. And um, first of all, it would carry out specific commands. The head FBI and this is interesting. This is interesting. The head of the FBI and CIA ordered Project Clockwork Orange after it became public. Um, all of the documents to be destroyed in 1973. So every single document on Clockwork Orange in 1973 was ordered by the CIA and the FBI to be destroyed. But that's not really the thing that's really interesting here. What's interesting is the fact that we live in a world, right, where the government, why would the government be trying to actively participate in, mind reading? Why would it try to do that? I don't know. I don't know. But it's an interesting idea. Maybe some of the murders, maybe some of the shootings, mass shootings, maybe they were mind reading. I looked it up, and the reason MK Ultra even came up to begin with actually wasn't because of Christian. It was because of the tinfoil hat theory. Um, I looked up a little bit of Alex Jones, and a lot of his clips, he's wearing a tinfoil hat. I never understood why until I looked it up. Tinfoil hat is a way for um, the government to, or for us to block out the rays that the government can use to mind control us. So, really, that's what it is. That's why, those tinfoil hats are on. That's what it means, tinfoil hat hour. Um, it's kind of a kooky term that I feel like there's a lot of merit to it, and I feel like if people like Alex Jones and Jesse Ventura and a couple other people, a couple other people believe in this theory, I think that there's some truth to it. Now, okay, um, with that being said, though, I have a little bit of a rant I have here right before. I'm gonna end it in about 7 or 8 minutes here, but I want it to be as close to 74 as humanly possible because that's kind of the goal. But um, here's kind of my rant a little bit. First of all, I want to say that I believe I believe there are things out there that we can't explain, and there's natural phenomenon that we can't explain yet due to scientific belief. And I want to straight up state that I am not religious. I believe in science, and that's why I like things like the Gaia or other, programs that are really enlightening. That's where I got the theory of the artificial space moon, like the moon is a spaceship, or the whole idea of looking past the veil, I guess, and kind of unmasking things that have been out there in public. Um, I like I like being able to definitively point to a chart and say, even if it's not the way it's made, I like to be able to definitively point to a chart and be like, this is how the earth was made because this happened and this happened, which was a direct result of this, and because of that this happened and evolution happened, which explains why this doesn't have wings. Like I like the idea of being able to explain that. And with science, you have the ability to scientifically explain things. Now, scientifically speaking, you know, we want to talk about religion. One of these podcasts, probably next Saturday, we're probably going to be talking about religion. And one of the things I'm going to bring up about religion is this: I think there are things in the Bible that we can't explain and scientifically doesn't make sense. Right? The parting of the two seas. The ability, right? Think about this for a second. The ability to part seas, even with a machine made object, say there's some kind of wind, some kind of force, some kind of machine that could do that, that is so far advanced. The idea of that supernatural happening would be, I don't even know. But um really there's things that scientifically speaking you couldn't prove. The parting of the two seas is something I bring up because obviously no man has or nobody has the power, those kind of superpowers, but even if you did, think about how heavy that would be. Even if there was some sort of machine that could do it, think about how hard that machine would have to work. I mean, if you fall out of, like, let me put it to you like this: if you fall from an airplane or from a helicopter that's above 50 feet up in the air and you hit the water at full force, you will die when you hit the water. The the impact of that water will literally be cement. And it's because of how water is made, the foundation of water, what makes up water, and how how and it depends too. If it's the ocean where it's that real dense salty water, I mean, if it's that, it's just instantly just boom. So that's something else to consider as well. Water is very dense. Water is very heavy. It would be like cement, and yeah. We have a couple minutes here. I'm gonna wrap it up, but I am gonna wrap it up by saying this. Once again, guys, we are sponsored. First of all, go give those two a follow. Do it, please. You know what I mean? Hell's Dungeon. Go do it. Fantastic place. Um, the owners, the people, they're great. They're fantastic. And if you guys play any kind of epic games, I know Fortnite's huge right now. Fortnite, World War Z, you name it. If you play it, go to the shop. Use code 66 space seals space podcast. Um, you get 10% off your purchase. It helps us out. It helps you guys out. We love to bring that to you. We love, to bring the overall joy and the overall, just the overall joy and the overall love for just the games and gaming. I know personally, I'm a gamer. I can't wait to game tonight. And we're gonna be working with other companies like Gamer Subs. First of all, You guys don't know who they are? Fantastic. They're like G Fuel but better. um, but guys, go buy those. Go follow them. Go like them. You know what I mean? Go use the creator code. If you guys are not following our YouTube, it's 66 Seals Podcast. We have 1.8 thousand subscribers. First of all, we're just passing 40 to 50,000 views. Okay, and then on top of that, we're, we passed 1,000 followers on Twitch. First of all, and every single video's gotten hundreds of views since then. We appreciate it, guys. We love you. We don't know if we're gonna turn back on the comments yet. Maybe we are. Maybe we aren't. Um, but from all of us here at 66 Seals, we love you. We appreciate you. Oh, oh. Um, SoundCloud. We have 3,000 plays on SoundCloud, which first of all, is fantastic. There's a lot of rappers right now, big name rappers that don't even get that kind of traction. So I appreciate that, guys. With that being said, love you all. Have a good one. Make sure to use those creator codes. From me and Christian both, we will see you tomorrow. Have a good one. And Scout.